Vietnam says it's ready to hold discussions with the Philippines regarding Manila's claims to an extended continental shelf in the South China Sea. Philippine assertions overlap with those from China and Vietnam, while clashes between Beijing and Manila have been high profile and sometimes violent. The Philippines and Vietnam have relied on relatively quiet diplomacy to settle their disputes. The Vietnamese Foreign Ministry says countries have the right to determine their outer continental shelf boundaries, in line with UN provisions. But Hanoi is urging Manila to respect the legal rights of nearby coastal nations. Both sides lay claim to the Spratly and the Paracel Islands. That's two archipelagos with rich grounds for fishing. Vietnam says it wants to achieve a mutually beneficial solution. The Philippines has not responded to Vietnam's offer for talks, but it has expressed concern over extensive land reclamation by Hanoi in the Spratlys. Observers say Vietnam has created almost as much new land in the last 6 months as it had in the previous 2 years combined. The US-based Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative says Vietnam has created almost 1,000 hectares of land since November last year. That's roughly half the landmass China has created in the same time. The Philippine Navy says it's monitoring Hanoi's island-building activities, but notes that Vietnam does not initiate aggressive actions, unlike China. Of the 6 nations with overlapping maritime claims in the South China Sea, the Philippines takes the greatest issue with China. Coast guards from both sides engaged in a brawl on Monday. Chinese forces seized equipment from Philippine boats, with one Filipino serviceman losing his thumb in the scuffle. Beijing insists Manila should be held responsible for trespassing on its territory. China also slammed Japan for expressing concern over Monday's incident. Beijing says Tokyo has no right to intervene in maritime disputes between China and the Philippines. Japan has no claims in the South China Sea, but it does have clashes with China over the Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea. Beijing knows these islands as the Diaoyu Islands. And for more, Buena Bernal joins us live from Manila. Bernal, a flashpoint the last few months in the South China Sea. It's in the second Thomas shoal specifically over a disintegrating warship there. Now, there have been reports that the Philippines has been covertly reinforcing that warship grounded decades ago to reinforce its territorial claims. What do you know about these claims?
A Financial Times article has cited 6 different sources in reporting that the Philippines has secretly reinforced BRP Sierra Madre, which is the Philippines' label for that grounded World War II ship in Second Thomas Shoal that serves as a Philippine military outpost there. Now, no further details were provided in that report, but it did say that the 6 separate sources were familiar with the operation. Ahead of that report, however, a source of mine within the Philippine bureaucracy has said that the Philippines has completed the fortification of BRP Sierra Madre for months now. And he adds that the completed fortification of BRP Sierra Madre will enable the ship to, quote, hold up for the next 10 years. And this provides meat to the pronouncement by the Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff Romeo Bronner Jr. last June 19, when he vowed that the Philippines will not leave Ayungin Shoal, which is the Philippines' label for Second Thomas Shoal. And that level of confidence that Mr. Bronner had was likely due to the knowledge that BRP Sierra Madre has already been successfully fortified and that it will hold up for the next decade. Mr. Bronner was reacting to that June 17 incident where the Philippines accused the China Coast Guard of a brutal assault that led to severe injuries of one Filipino sailor. Now, I've sought confirmation from other government officials of these details, but the armed forces of the Philippines responded by labeling that fortification as a mere repair of the BRP Sierra Madre. Now, my source adds that National Security Advisor Eduardo Año has actually addressed the core people in government aware of this mission and announced that the fortification was done and that he was met with a congratulatory remark. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, I've sought comment on this, has said, and I quote, "As we have said before, the Armed Forces of the Philippines leadership gives utmost importance on the morale and welfare of our personnel in BRP Sierra Madre." The Philippine military emphasizing there that whatever it does in its outposts in the West Philippine Sea, which is the country's label for its maritime zone in the larger South China Sea, are within its rights under international law.
Oh, in other words, Bernal, you are saying that it is, in fact, the fortification is, in fact, complete. And as you suggest, it is lending confidence to the Philippine military to be more certain about their claims in the region. Now, given the rise in clashes we've seen between the Philippines and China in that area over the fortification of this ship, this confidence of the Philippines, what might that suggest in terms of more or fewer or less incidents that could take place in that area?
Well, one is it puts into question the Chinese claim that its actions last June 17, when it disrupted the Philippines' rotation and resupply mission to BRP Sierra Madre and even wielded bladed weapons towards Filipino troops, was meant to stop the Philippines from transporting construction materials. Because if the Financial Times sources, as well as mine, are to be believed, and that the construction, according to my source, has been completed, then it goes to show that the construction materials haven't been transported for months now. I did press the Chinese embassy in Manila and ask them, may I know what construction materials you were trying to stop last June 17? And they told me that there are currently no further details on that. Now, a separate source within the diplomatic circle told me that the Philippines is working on convening the bilateral consultative mechanism with China. This was first convened in 2017, and that this intention of the Philippines diplomats is for this to be convened before 2025. Two separate sources as well within the diplomatic circles in the Philippines telling me that this gentleman's agreement that China has been insisting on would have been better fleshed out through that bilateral consultative mechanism.
Oh, thanks for that. Buena Bernal in Manila looking at the implications should claims that a flashpoint warship fortification there has in fact been complete, what that would mean for both Philippines and China. Thanks for that, Buena Bernal in Manila.